All right. We are live on Twitch, Facebook Live, and also YouTube right now. I'm going to go ahead and put out a tweet saying that we're live.
Whoa.
What's up?
I said, whoa.
Whoa, I know, right?
Tweets.
Yeah, I know. Live. Twitter, man.
They're wild.
Can you believe it? Yeah. All right.
I mean, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody tweets about it, did it really happen?
No. The answer is no.
Absolutely.
All right.
What to get?
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Good morning, Comrade. You are listening to WHIV-LP New Orleans 102.3. It's Good Morning, Comrade. You can get more information about our show, goodmorningcomrade.com. Today we have on the show Jeff and Robert. Robert's back.
Hello, friends.
Yeah, Robert's back. You've been out for a little bit. What's been going on, bro?
No real reason, just work and life. I mean, I find it's like life is getting back to normal because of, I don't want to say COVID's ending, but more and more people are getting vaccinated. Like I just went to a wedding on Saturday.
What?
I'm still like in the COVID kind of craziness world. I just bought roller skates today.
Oh, so, you were asking about roller skates.
I bought some roller skates. Yeah, I bought some like beginner derby skates.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that like beginner, like what I want to do is like kind of the artistic kind of like cool looking cool jam skating. Mm-hmm. So I
what is jam skating?
It's like, you see like cool people doing cool stuff, like dancing on skates and just all around looking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured like beginning derby skates.
I know what it looks like, but I can't relate.
Yeah. Well, it's because you're not a cool person. You have to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually have a really like, so I assume that like beginner derby skates will be able to withstand that. So I'm waiting for him to come in the mail because there's a global shortage on roller skates because apparently roller skating has become like the COVID fad.
So like roller skates and video cards are like the two hardest things to find on the planet right now.
Yeah. Like we have like a pretty active skate culture. We have here in New Orleans. We've got like 2 rinks in the area. One is definitely cooler than the other from what I've been able to suss out. We have like a whole like skate like society here, so I'm hoping to become a part of that.
They used to have the roller girls pre-COVID. I'm sure they'll
did.
Roller girls.
Those
shows every now and then. They are fun as hell. They really are.
I used to go my ex and I when I lived in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. We used to go to the Cincinnati Roller Girls, which is like they're like the top. They're like whatever league is like the top of the roller derby pyramid. They like won the championship a couple times.
Uh-huh.
They like do curve track too. They don't even do flat track, which is pretty dope. And I have seen the derby, and those girls are amazing and awesome. And that's a thing that I'm glad is like kind of came back in the 2000s. The tens, I should say. What do we call the 2010s? Like, is there like a word for it?
20 teens. Like
20 teens.
I don't know. Like we're in the 2020s now, so that's way easier.
Okay.
The 20
definitely like roller derby was a thing in the 20 teens, and it never went away. It's just like a lot of things. COVID happened, so it sucks.
Yeah, I hate it, man. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of like less in like it feels like there's an end in sight to the COVID world, I guess. Like it feels like there's a possibility, and obviously it's not being rolled out like in any sort of like just or even way. It's all still like totally messed up, but at least
Well,
there's an end.
yeah. And another thing, I guess I'll transition into a rant I have of people who are still like who I would. There's two types of people who are anti-vaxxers, like people like I don't want to associate with at all. And then there's also people who are refusing that I know of who are refusing to get the vaccine, but I would consider them kind of rational. And I'm not really fighting with them because a lot of these people I know actually really do like to travel. And I can't wait for reality to slam them in the face when everybody's talking about, the COVID,
Vaccine.
we're going to have a vaccine passport. But I was like, that's what people have had if you travel at all. Like if you go to pretty much, I don't know, almost any country, like besides a good handful, like you have to like be vaccinated for stuff. And so now it's just going to be like that worldwide. It's like, it's not going to be a surprise, but it's going to surprise those people that think they're going to get on a plane to Mexico or Jamaica or wherever they think they're going to go and go to an all-inclusive, and the CDC is going to want their vax passport. And they're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, I think about this a lot, specifically from the perspective of like the idea of having like an anti-passport position, even if you're pro like a vaccine position or whatever.
Sure.
Like makes sense from the perspective that the vaccine is not being distributed evenly amongst like social and ethnic and like racial groups, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the problem isn't necessarily the fact that there would be a vaccine passport. The problem is the distribution of the vaccine. The problem is the injustice of people not being able to get the vaccine, like if they're from a more marginalized community, right?
Oh yeah, I know. I agree with you 100%. But that's like kind of not what I'm talking about at all.
Oh,
and you're right. And you can school me on this because we live in Louisiana, and I kind of look through the things of the lens of if the vaccine is available in Louisiana to whoever wants it. I mean, things must be going kind of okay.
Well, it's kind of backwards in certain places, right? Like in like big cities, like New York and California, it's a lot more difficult to get it, but just purely because of the density of people, the number of people that would need to get the vaccine. Just the operation would have to be scaled up so much higher to get that distribution to happen, right?
Okay. No, I get you. I'm probably being very like in a bubble,
like seemingly backwards or like whatever, like what often people would often call red states or whatever, are distributing at a like higher percentage level than other states, and people definitely want the vaccine for sure. But like in places like LA and New York and California more broadly, my understanding is that it's more difficult to get it just because of the sheer number of people that are in those places.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, I'm probably just being in a bubble here.
No, not really.
I just don't. I just feel like a lot of the people that we know, should be like the people who are like. What did I see today? Oh, I tell you what I saw today. What's on my mind is that the convention center in New Orleans, where everybody's getting vaccinated. I noticed they even tweeted out. They're like, "Hey, looks like nobody's here. If y'all want the vaccine, just show up and get it."
Oh no.
Yeah, they're tweeting that. And I know some countries are like, let's say, some countries like, let's say Cuba, for instance. I know for sure when you get off the plane in Cuba, like they're just if you don't have like proof of vaccination, they're sticking a needle in your arm, or you're not leaving that airport.
Oh wow.
Honestly, New Orleans, like I know we can't do this because we're not a federal. Like New Orleans should have been doing the same thing. I know we can't, but we should have been kind of doing that. We should have been like at the airport with these people who swore. And I'm talking very local New Orleans politics now, but for y'all, like New Orleans being a southern city, I'll try to like make this broader for people who don't live here. Being a southern city, we've got a Democratic mayor, and we've got in New Orleans, we've got a Democratic governor. They're centrist at best. They're not leftist, whatever. But that does have substantial effect on like why the vaccine's been distributed so well here, why COVID hasn't spread as hard as it did in Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas, in our surrounding states, because we did do lockdowns, even though they were kind of half-step measures. They were at least half a step when other states were taking no step. And I feel like, so when you see like the social media outcry of people going, I'm never coming back to New Orleans. I can't, you have a dictator of a governor and a mayor in New Orleans. So I never come. And for me, somebody who works downtown and has to cross Bourbon Street every day in my car, it sure looks like a lot of people who swore they were never going to come back to New Orleans are now back in New Orleans.
Right.
100%. Like I was out Saturday night after that wedding. The streets were full, 100% back to normal. And I'm just saying that we really should have been like, hey, if you're flying in from out of state, show us your vaccine card. And if you ain't got it, we got a syringe for you. And if you don't like that, you can get on your Southwest flight and fly straight back to Dallas-Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just me, though. That's why I'm authoritarian left.
I mean, like the idea, I mean, look, on the question of the like vaccine, on the vaccine, like passport and everything like that, like I can understand why people would think that that's like an overreach or whatever, but like, come on, man.
But it's normal. If you're not,
if you're trying to
if you're not traveled, I could understand why you would think that. And the majority of Americans don't travel, so okay. But it's normal. This is what normal like countries do to protect their sovereignty and to protect their people from getting crazy infectious diseases from us dirty Americans, and vice versa.
That's what I'm getting at. Like I can understand like based in the context of like the idea of American people are just like, oh, gotta have my freedom and all this other stuff. Like they would be against it like on a reflexive level. But if you get like anywhere beyond like the surface, then like I don't know, there's no argument against getting the thing.
There's absolutely none. And I've said this a million times, like the cool thing about America, as much as like I don't joke when I'll tweet out like I hate America, like that stuff is like found, but like the cool thing we have about America is its empire and how we are like the new Roman Empire, and I can get
like there's a coherency along there. It's like one of these things that I talk about with my Catholic friends, right? Where like no matter where you go in the world, there's a Catholic church you can go to, except for like some very specific places.
Yes. You're saying what I'm saying is that I was going to equate it to like I can get good Italian, Vietnamese, Ethiopian, and burgers all in the same block like that. And that is because of the American Empire. Like it's not worth the cost, obviously. Like I know people are like getting mad at me. Like, yeah, I'd rather be like, not as have a million different cultures here that we dominated and exploited, but hey, we didn't do it. So like, I'm going to enjoy some good Thai food. So that's like the strength of America to me, is that we are at our best. We are this melting pot, but people don't want to talk about how we got to the melting pot. The weakness is that we're so damn big. We're so damn big, and we have so many different cultures.
So aggressive as well.
What's that?
And so aggressive as well.
Well, we don't have one American experience. So like people don't relate to each other. And so that's how you can get somebody in New York saying, oh, like, of course, like the vaccine, I'm going to take the vaccine as soon as I can get it. And somebody in Wisconsin saying, no, I'm never going to get this thing. It's like, and you think of the things that have united this country. It's always been like the worst things in the world, like World War II and like 9/11 and stuff like that. And it's like the only time you've ever felt like, oh, we're in a united America has been for like the worst reasons possible.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what to do with this country. Give it back.
I mean, it is what it is, right? Yeah. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and sort of like engaging with it sort of like in that way is, I mean, like just finding the best way to do it, and finding joy in life is not the wrong thing
Absolutely. To do. No, 100%. That's like a different topic altogether, but I really cannot stand a joyless leftist.
Yeah.
They really make me want to die. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't with this.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's like that. You might as well be black pilled at that point, right?
Well, it's just the idea that like everything is awful all the time, and drinking bubble tea is cultural appropriation.
Bubble
And
tea
it's
is
just
so
like,
good. I love bubble
geez,
tea.
it's just like, come on, man. Like, I don't know, live a little. But yeah, I can't stand soulless, joyless leftists. Like, enjoy life. Like, you've only got one go round with this thing.
Yeah, you are listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. We got Jeff and Robert on the show. So on the show, I've been doing, morning shows, 5 days a week, all this other thing. One of the things I've been covering a lot, and like people are probably sick of it, but I'm gonna get into it just a little minute because the Amazon Union Drive, right?
Yeah, nobody's sick of that. Nobody's sick of that. Just like, don't listen to us anymore, please.
Well, anyway,
like, this is so important.
One particular guy has been just absolutely killing it in terms of coverage of Amazon and all of their BS. Guy named Ken Klippenstein. Maybe we should reach out to him and try and get him on the show. But he's been writing for The Intercept, various articles just about like what Amazon management's been up to, like during this drive. I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on Ken at all, but I
have been keeping an eye on Ken. But I do not know how the votes turned out, to be honest with you.
The vote hasn't been so just to kind of reset. There's a union drive happening in Amazon. It is essentially, so there's workers that are at a fulfillment center in Amazon in Bessemer, Alabama, that are attempting to essentially start a union. There's about 5,000 employees that would be, the sort of bargaining unit. They would need a majority to approve the union, and that's something that happened over the past 2 months, right? The vote ended on last Monday, and it's been a week, and we still don't have any results.
Which seems crazy.
I mean, I could have counted the 5,000 100 times by now, right? Saying something like that. But anyway, there's just like a lot of laws and like a lot of like recourse that Amazon's been sort of using just to slow this process down as much as they possibly can. They've been very successful in that. But anyway, like in this entire thing, Amazon has been sort of like really sort of like showing their ass in terms of like weird posts in social media, union busting.
I know they wanted to put cameras up to like,
yeah, they wanted to have like a weird like special ballot box that was set up by Amazon that you would say, oh yeah, put your votes in here. Stuff like that. But anyway, and one of the things that Amazon's also been doing is been training like a Twitter army. So let me just read the headline of this. Amazon's Twitter army was handpicked for, quote, great sense of humor, leaked document repeal. This is by Ken Klippenstein in this is from last week. Amazon ambassadors were trained to defend Jeff Bezos and clap back at Bernie Sanders under a program called Veritas.
Everything's it's yeah. If people want to talk about 1984, like that's
some double speak right there.
That's the
right?
essence of it right there.
So here's just from the article. Amazon's small Twitter army of ambassadors, in quotes, was uniquely conceived in 2018 under the code name Veritas, which sought to train and dispatch select employees to the social media trenches to defend Amazon and its CEO, Jeff Bezos, according to an internal description of the program obtained exclusively by The Intercept. So Amazon ambassadors drew attention this week as they responded to a wave of online criticism for the company's treatment of workers amidst the union drive at the Amazon warehouse. And there's examples of tweets too. So they basically trained a Twitter army to essentially like defend Jeff Bezos, which is just hilarious to me.
Right. That's so wild, dude. Like, and you would think, here's the thing about like why capitalism doesn't work, and this is me being as cynical as possible, and why people who are billionaires aren't geniuses. Mm-hmm. You would really think that a guy like Jeff Bezos, who's supposed to be this tech wizard, this genius, would understand that, like, if you lie on Twitter, you're gonna get smoked out like immediately. But he's living up too high to relate to that.
High, baby.
And why capitalism doesn't work is because there's no Amazon co-op to say like, hey, that's a real dumb idea. Everybody just goes, yeah, Jeff, that's great. No one's gonna tell Jeff no. So it's like this is exactly this is why capitalism doesn't even work for Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to go answer my door. I know this is live.
Go ahead.
So,
I'm going to read these tweets.
But keep talking. I'm going to be about 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah. So let me just read from one of the tweets. So here's somebody named Professor Cena on Twitter. Hey, Amazon, just want to say that I'm okay with getting garbage I order from you a lot later if it means your employees are able to take adequate breaks and work with dignity. Just saying. And Gary at OAK4. His name is Amazon FC Gary. He tweets back, my FC, which I guess is like fulfillment center, lets me take 2 20-minute breaks and 1 30-minute lunch. On overtime days, we get 3 20-minute breaks, which is also pretty nice as well. Before the pandemics, our breaks only used to be 15 minutes. Overall, 10-minute increase is thumbs up emoji. Being an essential worker is dignifying for me, smiley face emoji, which is just like so weird, creepy, like fake, like pretending to be a human type language. Here's another one. Ellen from Texas tweets, this is at Amazon. For some reason, at Amazon News, which is like a creepy, weird Amazon Twitter account, by the way, that's essentially they've like they've been one of these like direct lines from Jeff Bezos essentially to or not even Jeff Bezos, like whoever the new CEO is, but either way, they've been like the posting is almost like an alt account. But it says essentially, I believe Andrew Yang. Yes, I do, and don't believe you. I also believe that Amazon employees pee in bottles. Why? Because your warehouses are so huge that by the time they walk all the way to the bathroom, their break is over. You people are awful. This is from Ellen. And then Yola from OAK4, which is the same fulfillment center as Gary from OAK4, by the way. She says Amazon FC Yola is her at. Although this facility is big, there are numerous bathrooms to use. My building has 12. Each bathroom can have 3 to 6 toilet emojis. That's plenty. Plus the 20 to 30 MN breaks. That's more than enough time. So essentially they have like a bot army that's supposed to respond to like tweets. Anticipating criticisms of worker conditions at their fulfillment centers in particular, Amazon designed Veritas to train fulfillment center workers chosen for their, quote, great sense of humor to confront critics, including policymakers, on Twitter in a, quote, blunt manner. The document produced as part of the pilot program in 2018 and marked, quote, Amazon.com confidential, also include examples of how its ambassadors can snarkily respond to criticisms of the company and its CEO. Several examples include Senator Bernie Sanders, a longtime critic of the $1 trillion firm, who has been targeted by it in recent days. It also proves examples of how to defend Bezos. We must defend Jeff Bezos, and this is how we're going to do it. Corporate capital has surveilled workers for decades. These days, the sophistication, accessibility of technology make their job that much easier. That's exactly right. That's something that goes back to like the idea of Taylorism and the idea of like scientific management, which I'm sure you have like at least some idea about. It's like this idea that there is a specific like bodily motion that you're supposed to like a most efficient way to do a certain specific manual job, and you can sort of break every single job into these individual like particular tasks, and by doing that you can essentially like maximize productivity through a job, which is like one of the most dehumanizing ways to to sort of think about it. Let's look at this. Let's look at this document. So the FC Ambassador Program tenets, unless you see better ones. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Anyway, here, let's get a little bit bigger here. So this is like a script that I've got here from, it's posted on the Intercept, that essentially like talks about how, like, what you're supposed to do. So, or like a agenda for a meeting. So the goal of today's meeting is to get aligned on the launch plan for the FC Ambassadors Program. This document has been updated based on your feedback and includes our tenets, an overview of the program, and options and recommendations for launch materials in the process. The FC Ambassador Program tenets, unless you know better ones, are: 1, tell your truth. We encourage our associates to share experiences about their time at Amazon. We will not offer misleading or untrue messages in order to, quote, spin what may be an uncomfortable situation by the company. That sounds like exactly what they're doing. It sounds like exactly what you're doing is misleading or untrue messages. We are offering misleading or untrue messages in order to spin what may be an uncomfortable situation for the company. We're reading through some documents that were released by the Intercept that sort of outline the Amazon fulfillment center, like, we must defend just ambassador program, you know. So that's where we're at. So the first tenet was tell your truth. 2, preserve customer trust. Our number one priority is continuing to earn the trust of our customers by educating them on what's it actually like to be inside Amazon fulfillment centers. And then 3 is respect. We vigilantly refute untruths about the working conditions at Amazon. We may be direct, even blunt, but we will always be respectful, even to our worst critics. So that's sort of like what this program sort of claims to lay out here. FC Ambassador Program summary. So we could go on in here or not. It sort of like lays out how the program is supposed to work.
Again, like, how are they so bad at this?
What?
Again, like, how are they so bad at this?
Like how are they bad at like keeping this kind of
they're
thing
bad
up?
At propaganda. They're bad at lying. Like, it's like when you think about it. Okay, so a company like Amazon, I'll even throw like Tesla into this, like Elon Musk. Like, yeah, again, this is why these people are not to be looked up to. This is why they're stupid. Yeah, they're not special people who are anointed by God to rule over us.
No, but
so you got the richest man in the world with all the resources in the world, and this is the best he could come up with. Like, these companies are like run by Dr. Evil. They're not run by Dr. Doom.
I mean, he looks like Lex Luthor, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's not Dr. Doom. it's like, I don't know, who's like a joke villain in the Marvel universe. It's like MODOK or something. These people are ridiculous. And this is like, with all your resources, this is the best propaganda you could come up with. Like, fake Twitter accounts, like tweeting at each other. It's so obvious. Like, who is this even for? Like, who do you think you're fooling with this?
Back to the article. There's a quote here. Quote, to address speculation and false assertions in social media and online forums about the quality of the fulfillment center associate experience, we are creating a new social team staffed with active, tenured FC employees, the fulfillment center employees, who will be empowered to respond, who will be empowered to tweet. We empower you to tweet. You have so much power to spread the company propaganda. I'm sorry. The creating with blunt, who are empowered to respond in a polite but blunt way to every untruth. The project description reads, quote, FC ambassadors will respond to all posts and comments from customers, influencers, including policymakers, and media questioning the fulfillment center associated experience. So essentially, all they're there to do is to say, "Oh, this person's talking crap about like working at Amazon. It's your job to basically post back. You're basically like a reply guy for Amazon." Like that's what you are. You're Amazon's reply guy. Kelly Nantel, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, and the thing is, how you're not just common sense is not fooling anybody. Like, any consumer that reads this, let's just be on, like, let's be cynical. Like, any consumer that's like, oh, look at here, like Betty Joe from Amazon says she loves working in the distribution center, so Amazon's okay by me. There's nobody with it like that doesn't have a traumatic brain injury.
It's very old timey sounding, isn't it? It's very sort of like old school.
There's nobody who's like has a traumatic that doesn't have a TBI that's not like agreeing with this. You're either in two camps. Either you're like, no, like, oh, this is obviously like the worst propaganda I've ever seen and put together by dumb people, or you're just like, my stuff gets here next day. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way, because Amazon is a company that's getting you stuff from across the United States in next day or 2 days.
Yeah.
And you think that they're just so good, and other companies are so inefficient, and Amazon's so efficient that they figured out a way to do this that nobody else can. No, because they're running a gulag.
Mm-hmm.
They're running a sweatshop in the U.S. where people urinate in bottles. That's how they're doing it. That's how the sausage is made, and we can believe that. We can either accept that and not care, or we can change it. But don't tell me you don't believe it.
Well, and that's exactly what like flies in the face of like the other reporting that we've seen of like Amazon straight up lying on Twitter, like when Bernie Sanders and Mark Pocan are posting on Twitter and saying, "Hey, we actually think these working conditions are bad," and they're just like, "You don't really believe that, you know, drivers and workers are, you know, peeing and pooping in bottles and bags." Like that's what happened last week. Like this is like in light of that, like this is the program that they're like using to obscure that reality, right?
Yes, I absolutely believe that when people say that that's the case. I absolutely believe, because that is the reality that people have documented, that there are shanty towns set up by people who are just migrated, and they're living in their vans and their trucks, and they're like rundown RVs, like working at Amazon plants, who can't afford to put a down payment on an apartment or a house, or they can't afford like normal living. So we're just returned to the Dust Bowl, where people are migrating to kill themselves in an Amazon supply center. It's insane.
Yeah. You are listening to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade, goodmorningcomrade.com. You can get more information there. And yeah, we're talking about Amazon, and we're talking about how they have a army of essentially like bots. You know what's really interesting about this kind of thing too? I find that like, I don't know, every now and then, like on Twitter or whatever, you'll see somebody like saying that, well, this person's an agent for Russia, or this person's an agent for China, or whatever the hell. But they have like actual real agents for Amazon that are like actually out there spreading disinformation on the internet, and we have the documents to literally prove that. It's very funny to me.
Well, every conspiracy is based on like a nut of truth. Like,
yeah.
Again, like that's the reason why every stereotype, every conspiracy is like it's just like the nut, the core inside is like the truth, and then you just get BS like lacquered on over it, over and over and over it, to where it becomes like an untruth. But yeah, of course. I mean, if you think you're engaging with people on social media that aren't just paid to be there, like paid ambassadors, you're insane. You're you've got Brooklyn Dad, you've got these Amazon, you've got the Hillary Clinton bots during like 2016. Neera Tanden ran a bot farm. Like, yeah, I remember a marketing class I took in college, and it was about we went over this this marketing journal that they praised PBR, the beer,
Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, of how they handled, because in the 2000s, like PBR became like the hipster beer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And PBR wanted to do like a full court press of, oh man, let's get out there. We're up 20%. Wow, this is amazing. Let's advertise. Let's strike while the iron's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they hired an ad agency that said no. Like, here are your people. Like, that will kill your brand. This is what you're going to do. And so they went on a campaign of like, instead of like, they would sponsor, just to give you an idea, they would sponsor a music festival, but they wouldn't outright brand, like they wouldn't brand the music festival. It wouldn't be like Voodoo Fest New Orleans, powered by PBR. It would just be like Voodoo Festival, and then the only beers there you could buy were like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
It's sort of like subliminal messaging almost.
Right. So it's to associate it with your good times. And so I guess what I'm saying is, the point of what I'm saying is, like, if you feel like you're not being marketed to, like, all the time by people on social media, by people on YouTube. I mean, we're trying to sell you something right now. If you're a first time listening to this, I'm trying to sell you on socialism. I've said this a million times. The point of this podcast, and Jeff, you might disagree with this, is that you don't have to read some dusty books. You don't have to read Capital to understand that like things are wrong, and why they're wrong is capitalism. You should read those books, but I'm saying you don't have to. And
what's more important than reading the books
I'm
is
selling
making connections and showing people how to make those connections, right? I don't disagree with you.
But the point is, like, we're selling. Everybody's selling. So if you think that you're not being sold to, you're the sucker.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. So like propaganda never ends, right? It's just a constant, ever sort of circulating, kind of. It's almost like fronts in a war, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
And there's sort of like different levels of it. Anyway, just to get back to this article, just because I think that there's a lot of really, really good stuff in here. In 2018, Amazon admitted that ambassadors were employees paid to quote, honestly share the facts, which is like a very, very interesting way of putting things.
No, you think I'm chilling for Amazon for free? You must be crazy.
Look, my truth ain't free. My truth costs some money, man.
Exactly, my dude. I can't just be preaching the gospel for free. No, you're
in its fulfillment centers is like many Twitter users had first believed that the ambassadors were automated quote bot accounts due to the nearly identical format of their account bios, all of which feature the Amazon smile logo and begin with the handle at Amazon FC.
So weird, dude.
So basically, if people were doing this and if people were getting paid to this, like they were definitely like mailing it in, which I appreciate. I respect that part at least. You're doing the absolute minimum.
It's like, why?
Was specifically mandated by Amazon. The Intercepts document shows, quote, we could also add an emoji to the username to give personality. For example, a small box emoji, the document suggests. That's hilarious. Like, wow. Oh, you want personality? Well, the words have to be exactly the same, but throw in an emoji, why don't you?
I mean, that's corporate culture in a nutshell.
Emoji. Why not that one?
I mean, that's exactly how corporate culture works. It's like you're free to be yourself inside of this box.
Yeah, you have your parameters for freedom, and that's all you get.
Yep, that's it, buddy.
Senators Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, Democrat from Massachusetts, And Representative Mark Pocan, Democrat from Wisconsin, tweeted last week about the company's treatment of workers and its corporate practices. Amazon's PR account then sent taunting replies to the lawmakers asking Pocan, quote, "You don't really believe in the peeing in bottles thing," is what I was saying earlier, right? As the Intercept reported the following day, many Amazon delivery drivers have indeed been forced to relieve themselves in bottles and bags in order to meet demanding quotas. The company knew it. Amazon also replied to Warren and Sanders, telling Sanders, quote, "I often say we're the Bernie Sanders of employers, but that's not quite right because we actually deliver a progressive workplace," which is just sort of like, dude, like literally the reason that people at Amazon make $15 an hour is because of the Stop Bezos Act. Absolutely. That Bernie Sanders and people like Mark Pocan and yes, even Elizabeth Warren pushed in Congress. Like to the point where like Amazon is just like, we're not dealing with this grief. We'll just cave and try and get positive PR.
Well, ain't that capitalism in a nutshell? To stand on the shoulders of socialism and then declare victory. Ain't that what it does on a daily basis?
Well, that's the whole point, right? Yeah. You have to fend it off by doing that. The tweets have vexed many in the company, some of whom feared the account had been hacked, as the Intercept reported. That was the Amazon, the vaunted and famous Amazon news account, which was basically like the CEO. Basically, it was his alt.
That's a wild account. Yeah, apparently, yeah, because that's what I heard too. Is Bezos was just so mad that they weren't going after Bernie on Twitter. And it was like, okay, Jeff, like, aren't you the world's richest man? Like, why do you need goons to... It's because you're not smart, Jeff. It's because you started this company in a basement, I mean, in a garage, and you always had a fallback plan, and you're not smart. You're just not a smart man. Nobody to be looked up to at all.
Yeah. Sanders, who has confronted the company over its labor practices and recently visited workers in Alabama, is referenced repeatedly in the 2018 document. In one instance, the document refers to a video interview Sanders tweeted, quote, "Bernie Sanders interviewing Seth King on Prime Day. Seth describes feeling so depressed working at Amazon to take his own life." What? I didn't know.
That's some Foxconn-ish right there.
Yeah. And Amazon ambassador role-playing then responds, quote, at Senator Sanders, "This job has never made me feel bad personally. If you have a job that makes you feel bad, you could leave." That, which is like the worst, like most gaslighty.
How many times have you heard that from an employer?
That is like
your terrible job,
abusive shit that you could possibly think of. I got so mad I cursed on the radio.
How many times have you heard that? You could just leave. I can't tell you how many times I've done that too.
Mm-hmm.
But the old boys getting kind of old,
especially if you have insurance and all this other stuff, right?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. The boys getting kind of old. I can't really do that anymore. Can't just walk off like I used to in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. At another point, Sanders is described as having, quote, tweeted about Jeff Bezos' wealth. The ambassador then replies, "Everyone should be able to enjoy the money they've earned/saved. It's theirs. They should be able to do with it as they please. That includes Jeff Bezos."
$1.
He earned it. He earned it. Not the workers. The workers didn't earn it. Jeff Bezos earned every penny that Amazon has made. I love it.
No, man. Woo. I'm just happy for Mackenzie's. His ex-wife's storyline is amazing.
Oh, she got hers.
Oh, and she did you see she's marrying her child's math teacher?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, she's getting remarried and marrying a school teacher.
That's funny.
Right. They fell in love at the PTA meeting.
That's so weird.
What a glow up for this guy. Salutes to him. But yeah, that's true story. I didn't making that up.
That's incredible.
Yeah, she rocks. And so does his teacher.
Among the program's tenets is the promise not to offer misleading or false messages, instead exhorting ambassadors to, quote, tell the truth. But there are some subjects they are forbidden to discuss. You can tell the truth, but not about this. The documents instructs employees not to respond to, quote, contacts about the right to unionize one of only 3 cases in which they are told not to respond. An example to ignore is provided. At Amazon, let your FC employees unionize if you have nothing to hide.
Wow. Okay. Challenge accepted, I guess.
They know that's the ace in the hole. Ambassadors are also told not to respond to media inquiries and to complicated queries where PR approval is needed. One written example of a tweet to ignore mentions Amazon's advertising relationship with the far-right outlet Breitbart. Here's the example of a tweet. At Amazon, why are you still advertising on Breitbart? Between that and barely paying your employees, I'm ready to quit shipping with you. So basically, they're told ignore those kinds of tweets. The document also makes clear that ambassadors are far from a representative sample of workers, noting that, quote, newer employees can be very passionate and effective, according to their review of a small pilot group. Newer employees who have never yet had to pee in bottles, perhaps, which is a nice sort of like rhetorical.
Absolutely, because you haven't burned them out yet.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you just like look on that, like Ken has been like knocking them out all week. I mean, he's got articles coming out almost every day on this kind of thing. So check it out. Ken's a good dude on The Intercept. So yeah, there you go. There you go.
No, absolutely. Ken Klippenstein is clip. I'm trying to make a clip pun, but I can't. But no, he rocks. He's like the he's the journalist we need now that Glenn Greenwald went to the dark side.
Oh man,
he's filling that void for us.
You know, on a point about Glenn, I saw an article today. It was actually in the Daily Mail, so like I don't know how like reliable that actually is. I actually had it in the lineup for tomorrow. But apparently Glenn got robbed at gunpoint at some point.
Okay, at some point. I mean, that'll give you PTSD, so maybe he's got some issues.
So this is an article. And look, man, like Glenn's got a lot of like messed up ideas. Let's be clear about this. But here's an article from like the Daily Mail, which is like a British tabloid, by the way. Mm-hmm. By the way, before we get into this, you're listening to WHIV-LP New Orleans 102.3 is Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert on the show. So yeah, the headline is "They stuck a gun in my mouth." Snowden journalist Glenn Greenwald is tied up and robbed during hour-long ordeal at his farm in Brazil. Isn't that wild?
That's super wild. Yeah, that's not cool.
No.
So maybe Glenn has some like I said, he's got some trauma that he needs to work through.
Cringe, bad bad posting and bad like reporting, I guess you could say, on things like trans issues and their position in sports, and like said wild things like Tucker Carlson and people like Steve Bannon are socialist in his mind or things honestly, like that.
You're bringing this up. Do you know the timeline of when he had this traumatic experience?
Yeah, let's get into this. So Glenn Greenwald has revealed how he was bound and held at gunpoint for an hour during a robbery at the farm in Brazil where he's currently living. The journalist, part of a team that won a Pulitzer Prize, a well-deserved Pulitzer Prize, by the way, for reports about the government surveillance programs based on leaks by Edward Snowden, endured a terrifying home invasion near Rio early last month. So I guess early in March.
Okay.
Timeline might line up. I don't know.
Greenwald,
54, described the harrowing attack in which he had a gun forced into his mouth in a detailed essay over the weekend. Wow, okay. There's an essay. Let's read it. Let's read Glenn's words. How about that? I mean, again, he's got to stop saying this crazy, weird stuff, this bad stuff for sure. But also, I don't know, man.
Yeah, my man could be having a mental health crisis. I didn't know this. I'm being dead serious right now too. I'm not being facetious.
And you don't want to speculate too much either, but yeah, possibly. A harrowing story of violent crime in Oakland was reported by All right. This is okay. The problem with reading Glenn Greenwald articles, honestly, is that he's so long-winded. The dude does need an editor. Anyway, let's read from the mail. So he tried a harrowing attack when he had a gun forced into his mouth in a detailed essay over the weekend. The writer told how he had been at the quote isolated farm in his own when with just an off-duty cop hired to provide security and 12 dogs on the property at the time of his March 5th home invasion. His family, his husband, and 2 young children were in Rio at the time. The first indication that something was amiss came at 9:30 p.m. when Greenwald noticed his dogs were barking far more than usual. No sooner had he gone outside to investigate, he was apprehended. 3 men wearing full black face masks descended on me, all pointing guns at me, he wrote. The men marshaled into the house, while 2 other men held the security guard face down on the floor at gunpoint. Holy crap, man.
It's rough, dude.
Here's a tweet from Glenn. Just to note that everyone with a public platform receives demented, bigoted, deranged, threatening messages. It's not unique. It's not the unique province of any one type of person or faction, nor does it make one special. It goes with the territory. All right, dude. Can you just like let yourself like be a victim for half a minute? Like you actually deserve it here, right?
Right.
He's trying to like big D the whole thing. The thieves wanted money and were irritated to find that there was very little apart from a few $100s, some kitchen appliances, and clothes. They did not believe that, which drove them into a considerable amount of anger, he wrote. They ended up staying for an hour, though it seemed like much longer, driven by the belief that I was hiding valuables, refusing to believe my assurances that I would not do that with 5 men pointing guns at me. They attempted various forms of psychological terror. Wow. Quote, they repeatedly threatened to shoot the police officer in the head, repeatedly kicked him so hard that they cracked several of his ribs, ordered me to open my mouth and stuck a gun in it as they demanded to know where the rest of the money was, smashed my phone and tablet against the wall when they could not figure out how to erase the hard drive, and just generally tried to create a climate of extreme fear, he wrote.
It's terrifying, dude.
Greenwald described how both he and a security guard had their arms and legs bound with a cord while the robbers made their getaway in his car after ransacking the home for an hour. Looking back on the incident 1 month on, Greenwald said that it appeared to him the thieves were desperate and, quote, not professional criminals. They were more nervous, agitated, desperate, and disorganized than brutally and coolly efficient. That night, after leaving, they foolishly committed at least 3 other armed invasions of stores in the area using a car they stole from us. Okay, he might be trying to puff them up a little bit. I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't know. He's a writer. He writes to entertain. Like, what do you want from the man?
I don't
know. I'm not a big Glenn guy, but you don't know like how stuff will affect you.
Like, I've been like really bummed.
I'm not a
with the turn that Glenn did make. I mean,
absolutely,
like
we all are.
It's so like disappointing, I guess you could say, just because like the reporting that he's done like over the years has been so important, right?
Absolutely.
He's reported on Operation Car Wash, which is the thing that essentially like ousted Lula as well. He had him arrested and ousted Dilma as president. She was like couped essentially. He reported on like a lot of the drone murders and a lot of the civil liberties violations that the Bush administration had done, and also the Obama administration, and also he reported on the Snowden leak. So it is like the worst to see somebody like that who might have always been kind of like in this weird headspace, I guess you could say, this weird sort of like somewhat edgy sort of state.
I mean, we all have dark thoughts. It's just what's going to push us to indulge them, and getting a gun stuck in your mouth could have been a thing.
Past like 2 months, it seems like.
Yeah,
at least.
I sound like my wife here, but I think that we should in honesty, we can like jettison him from the left, from the quote unquote struggle, as far as like what value he brings. But then we can also be kind to him at the same time and be like, oh, this man might be going through something, which is not, these two things are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. It's like really hard to split that hair, but it kind of does in a certain sense need to happen. Not necessarily for like, I don't know, like it's not even necessarily about the person per se. It's about sort of like contextualizing the whole situation, I guess is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're saying the same thing. I agree. I concur. What a bummer to end the show. Oh, jeez.
Well, you know, I'm very good at providing bummers, so there you go.
Oh, man.
We do have about 5 minutes left. What else you got going on, man? Like what else is seeing?
I don't know. Like life stuff. I've got a bunch of rats in my house. When I say a bunch, they're two, but I want to make sure we get rid of them before they start mating. They drive my dog crazy. I haven't seen them, but I can hear them on the walls. And that's a little unnerving, to be honest. They drive my dog crazy. I don't think they want to actually come out because we have cats, but they got to go. Yeah, that's what's going on in my life. As far as leftism stuff, I'm really looking forward to the Amazon vote. I'm really praying that it succeeds, because this could literally open up a whole new world. Because, you know, to quote a bad movie, not quote, but just like if we can destroy the Death Star, which would kind of be like starting a union in Amazon, like anything is possible. There's nothing we can't achieve if we can get a union going at Amazon. And I mean the people who are actually doing the damn legwork. God bless them. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, and the question becomes like, how do you support that? You know?
Yeah. Anyway, they'll let you know any way they need, you know.
And then there was also other, like I mentioned this on the morning show, but we also, you know, learned, and I'm actually out to my friend Connor Lewis to talk about this. But there's steel workers in the Northeast and multiple states up there that are going on strike because of bad conditions. And also in Alabama, there is mine workers about to go on strike. Oh, actually, they are on strike right now because essentially, you know, while coal production, you know, stays really high, the workers are getting shafted in the entire process. So our friends over at the Valley Labor Report have actually been covering that. This actually could serve as actually a really good announcement and a welcome to the WHIV family to the Valley Labor Report. We kind of like made some calls and some conversations happen, and it looks like we're gonna have, you know, Jacob and David over on WHIV in some capacity. So and they're fantastic. Y'all should definitely check them out if you're listening right now. They cover essentially they emanate from a right-wing radio station in Alabama.
That rules.
I
said that rules.
And they essentially do like purely union radio. It's the best. Awesome, like, and they're awesome. They do shows on Saturday mornings. You should definitely check the Valley Labor Report out on WHIV. Beyond that, you can check out Good Morning Comrade on our website, goodmorningcomrade.com, where you can find ways to support the show, how to listen to us, and you can also, if you're interested, check out me in the morning, doing the morning shift, punching the clock, 8 o'clock on youtube.com. Just search Good Morning Comrade. Be great to have you. So anything you want to say on the way out, Robert?
No, I'm good, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
show.
Love you. Bye. All right. That was